Hey, Mike, what do Kelly Slater and PT have in common?
I don't know. They're both world champs?
Nope, they both own Endless Summer box set.
Oh my God, rad. You guys, you can get it too. The link's in the show notes.
On a slippery, big guns like Mark Fu. Trap jumping like a kangaroo.
Hey everybody, welcome to the QuiverCast, where we chat with surfers from all around the world, from all walks of life, and we get their story. Find us at www.thequivercast.com. I am Mike, your host. Let's get into the show. Hey everyone, this is Mike here with the QuiverCast, and I'm stoked. I got Matt Myers, who has kind of done it all in surf, but now he is a surf coach. Is his main gig. Is that your main gig right now?
Yep, surf coach.
Right on. Matt, you've done everything around surfing, right?
Yeah. I've kind of touched a little bit everything. I mean, I'm 36 years old, so I guess in the whole grand scheme, I guess you would probably consider me young-ish, but
Yes.
A lot of the guys I work with, I'm a lot older than them. You know, everyone I'm working with is in the teens to mid to low 20s kind of thing. Yeah, from, growing up as a sponsored Grom, doing the comps, eventually getting a paycheck, considering myself like a regional pro, back then when it was kind of easier to get a paycheck surfing. It was cool. Yeah, I got to make some money surfing, not much, but enough to live at home and live life on the road, do some contests, do some travels, focus on those magazines in the heyday, get shots in the mags, and make some little surf movies. And then realized that wasn't totally going to pan out for the long term. And my parents encouraged me to go to college, so I did a little bit of that. And Rip Curl kind of called me one day, and they pulled me in. I ended up doing the team manager job there down in Costa Mesa for 10 years.
Let's go way backwards then.
Yeah,
way to the beginning.
Yeah.
So you grew up in Santa Cruz?
Yeah, I grew up in Santa Cruz. Yeah, it was a crazy surf town. It's a passionate surf town, great community here.
Being a Grom from Santa Cruz, and the water's so cold compared to Southern California or like most surf-centric areas, what inspired you to go surf? Why did you want to go surfing?
Yeah, it's a great question. I just was super into sports in general growing up and loved going to the beach, lived pretty close to the beach. And yeah, I got into junior lifeguards, I guess would probably be the start, honestly, boogie boarding, at a young age, 6 years old at the beach. And it was pretty gnarly doing junior guards in Santa Cruz. Like you said, the water's cold and they don't really let you wear wetsuits. So it's upper 50s, maybe low 60s at the highest we'd get in the summer. But then, you just, as a Grom on the beach, you'd see people surfing and it just looks cool. My dad kind of surfed a little bit. He's actually from San Clemente, Southern California. He surfed a little bit back in the day. So he kind of encouraged me. But I think when I was 9 years old, I tried surfing for the first time and was pretty much hooked from then on.
Let's talk about junior guards. Just real quick touch on that.
Yeah.
So cold, no wetsuits. And are they having you swim out and swim around and all that?
Oh, yeah. You have to do the buoy swim to make sure you're good enough. And I actually, when I did it for 12 years straight up.
Wow.
I was because in the summertime up here, there's no waves for the most part.
Right.
We probably get some of our best waves, but super inconsistent. Those south swells need to be a certain angle to be able to get up into the Monterey Bay, just the way we're facing. And they're good waves, but most of the time, summertime's pretty flat up here. So for me, I loved going to the beach and doing that junior guards thing. It's a lot about competition and you got a really good workout. You're at the beach, you're surrounded by your friends, a bunch of cute girls, you're out in the sun.
Yeah.
It was cool. So then after I actually got a job doing junior lifeguard instructing for a couple of years too.
Does that mean you're a lifeguard at that point? Or
yeah, you have to pass the lifeguard test, but you weren't actually a lifeguard. You're not sitting up in the tower, but you were in charge of the kids. So you're putting them through the workouts and running all the different games and things like that.
That's kind of almost gnarlier than being a lifeguard in a lot of ways.
It is. Well, you're responsible. So that it's funny because it's really spent a lot of time working with kids, honestly, ever since I was 18, between the junior guard thing and then becoming a team manager, working with a lot of Groms, and then now as a coach too.
Well, you said your dad kind of surfed. So did he get you a wetsuit and a surfboard, or how'd that work? You borrow a board?
Yeah, no, dude, I think it was I got a board from Fiberglass Santa Cruz. It was a 7.2, maybe.
Perfect.
Something like that.
Yeah.
wearing those old gnarly Hotline wetsuits with like those super thick seams, and you get like the craziest rashes ever.
Worst rashes, I bet.
But you
Yeah.
didn't even know, like you just like that was just what it was like, you know?
So
Yeah.
actually, a real quick question. I can't believe I didn't ask this in the beginning. So are you east side or west side?
Okay, yeah, East Side for sure.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah,
really?
so I'm right here.
Pleasure
Got a place
Point?
here. Yeah, Pleasure Point out the window right in front of me.
Oh,
I'm
rad.
on 26th Avenue is actually where I
Okay.
live right here. So there's like a really funky wave that some people like, but don't really surf it much.
Okay.
But I bike to the point. That's like my easy daily surf is a 5-minute bike ride to go surf.
That's rad.
Yeah.
You grew up surfing Pleasure Point or the Hook, or where did you
Yeah,
start?
yeah, Pleasure Point. Yeah, like luckily, I guess my story goes is my dad was friends with Nadine Hennard, which is Homer Hennard's mom.
Oh,
And
yeah, yeah.
Homer Hennard's old school pro surfer from here.
No,
So
totally. Yeah.
at age, shoot, maybe 11 or 12, like he kind of took me under his wing and introduced me to his friends, which was like Omar Echeverry and a couple other Eastside pros. And they let me, I was the luckiest grom. I got to leave all my surf stuff at their house right here at Pleasure Point. I'd go to middle school and then bike over to their house, suit up and go surf. And that kind of like went from there.
How old are you at this point?
Probably 12. Yeah.
Okay.
11,
So-
12, like 6th, 7th grade, whatever that would have been. Yeah.
Yeah. Any other kids in like your buddies at school going surfing too? Were you meeting them there or what?
A couple friends were, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's funny, like Santa Cruz is like known for late bloomers. Like with the cold water here, like,
Of course.
you know, like a lot of guys, like a lot of our best surfers kind of got into it late and really kind of took off more in their like later teens. Like we didn't have a lot of like super groms that were like gnarly or ripping that hard up here.
Not like Sacramento or Huntington, huh?
No, very different. I mean, now it's changing with how everything's changed and how I'm even employed now doing what I'm doing. But like, there was like no surf coaching back in the day up here, not at all. Like, yeah, I was lucky to have older guys even like giving me some tips or whatever, like being like, you should go surf here, or like, this is how you get like sponsored or approach sponsors. And I was pretty lucky to have that because for the most part, the older guys held it down and weren't really into like sharing much.
So you're 12, 13, 14, and winters get pretty gnarly. It get cold and big up there. A lot of water moving. How'd you approach that? Were you scared or?
Oh yeah, I was pretty intimidated for sure. I wore a hood also, like surfing like almost
I
all
hate
year
that.
round. I was super known for that because I got brain freeze so easily.
Yeah.
So I remember I used to get crazy, like my face would be like tan on the front and then like white on the sides, my tan line. I was like from a hood. I had like a circle on my face, which was like
That's
super
funny.
embarrassing thinking back, you know. But yeah, no, the waves are, you know, they're pretty powerful. You have to really seek out the super heavy waves. Like for the most part, waves aren't that heavy, like around Santa Cruz. There's a couple places that can beat you down.
But like, there's no beach or like, no, there's no white beach. You're not laying on the sand and like paddling out and catching a couple waves.
No,
Everything's
so you have to
cliffs
learn.
and-
Yeah, you learn from a young age how to scale cliffs. Like the kids these
Yeah.
days have it easy. You know, it's all paved and
Stairs.
steps, but like stairs, yeah. But we didn't have any of that even at my generation. We had like sketchy cliffs with like potholes in it and like a rope and like a steel pole and stuff that you're hanging on.
Really?
Yeah. And like
So
the old
crazy.
school guys before me, they have like crazier stories about scaling like the Hook before there were stairs with the ropes and things like that.
Holy cow. Did you ever get in a situation where it's like, oh shit, it is too big out here? Because I mean,
Yeah,
it's 5 to 8 foot every day
Yeah.
in the winter.
No, I actually had a time. It was funny. I was talking to a dad yesterday, and when I was 12, it was the El Nino winter. And I was
Oh.
just getting into shortboarding, like actually doing it. And we like got stuck out the back at Pleasure Point when it was like double overhead or something like that. And like
Wow.
me and my buddy were like too scared to even like come in. We were like trying to figure out like, I don't know how to get in. I remember there's like a bunch of people on the cliff watching, and it was kind of dramatic. But
So what'd you eventually do?
we eventually just waited it out, like waited for a long time, waited for a break in the sets and like scurried in. But I don't even think I rode a wave that day.
That's it. That's super interesting. You start progressing, and how's that going for you? Are you surfing
Yeah.
contests or anything?
Yeah, I started doing contests when I was like 13. And like I said, I had Homer Hennard and Omar, and those guys kind of helped me because they had, back then, like those Santa Cruz pros had like so many sponsors, right? Like their whole board was covered. That was like the heyday of all the magazines, Transworld Surf, Surfing Surfer.
Yeah.
Nelly was just blowing up, the local photographer. And like, that was just the thing, right? The trade shows were a big thing. And I remember like getting a couple like sponsors and stuff, and the local reps would kind of hook you up. Yeah, that really motivated you. You know, Santa Cruz Surf Shop was the first one, and a couple others from there. And then doing the comps, I never really did that well actually at the contest at a young age. The local events, maybe I'd win here. The NSSAs, I never did well, ever. My whole career of it. It didn't take till I was like late teens till I started like winning some more events, winning pro-ams. I won a pro junior, making some quarterfinals at the QS in those early 20s kind of time. But for the most part, I was not the best competitor as a Grom.
What did you think of contest? Did you enjoy it, or were you doing it because your buddies were doing it?
My dad really wanted me to, and I like doing it. I don't know what my issue. I guess I would love to look back at myself now, and
now that you're a coach.
Yeah, now that I've spent, oh my God, hundreds of hours at all these events to kind of figure out what I was doing wrong. But back then I was still doing it when it was top 3 waves scored in a heat. Yeah, I'd always be close. I knew I was like right there was the thing. And I was coming down south and doing comps, and I was surfing against guys like Dane Reynolds and the Gudauskas brothers and Nick Rosa and like Chad Compton, Corey Arambidi, Killian Garland. Those were kind of all the best guys of my age group. And I would always like make the semis or I'd never win an event though. It just motivated me actually. So I think like in the long run, I was just like, you know what, I'm going to keep working hard at this and keep going for it because I really enjoyed it.
So going against those guys from down south and then getting down there and surfing, let's say Ventura, or I don't know how far down south you went.
Yeah, a lot of times, there was all Ventura because they didn't do a Northwest NSSA back then. So it was the Gold Coast. So all the events were like Oxnard, Ventura, You're
surfing against these guys, and the water's completely different, more beach breaky than what you're probably used to.
Mm-hmm.
What are you thinking about Southern California or the guys down there too?
Yeah, they were gnarly and intimidating, and they're always getting the score. And dude, we didn't even know how to go left really coming from up there. I didn't learn how to go. I actually ended up I moved to Newport Beach when I was about 25, and I finally like really figured out how to go left.
That's funny.
Because we didn't have lefts.
It's all front side.
Yeah. For me as a regular footer, there's all rights, all point break. It's easy. It's by your house. But now, like as a coach, I'm just telling all my guys, dude, if you have a comp in Huntington coming up, we're like, you got to go find some bad waves. Let's go find some beach breaks, tough waves you got to create your own speed. Things like that,
Well, the thing about Huntington too, it's probably okay in the morning, but in the afternoon, it's just shit.
Yeah, dude, it's tough. It's tough for us. Like,
yeah, tough. Is there the rivalry going on? Is that over with at that point?
Dude. Oh, at my age, it was still going. Yeah,
it was still going.
Okay. Yeah, it was still a part of it. I mean, I got super hazed growing up, and especially going to the west side, it was scary. Especially when you had your like license and you'd want to go surf the reef breaks over there in high school, and I'd have to go in the dark, paddle out in the dark, so the boys wouldn't see me.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, dude, I'd get punked, dude. Like, get my car waxed. Dude, I remember being at the lane one time, and Skin Dog made me go in and move my car because I parked at a spot that was like for the boys.
That's funny.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah.
Fear, or was it more of a joke?
A combination of the two, like, and it's funny. I'm friends with all these guys now. Like, I'm super close with Flea now. We run the Board Riders Club together. Yeah. And Rufo, but like back then they were such dicks to me as a Grom. Like, dude, Flea wouldn't even acknowledge my existence back when I was, in the teenage years.
Are you friends with them now just because maturity and everyone's older, or is the rivalry gone?
It's gone now. It's it's definitely more of a joke at this point. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I mean, there's a couple like kind of spots, what we call in the Midtown, that sometimes get a little bit chirpy, I'd say, but there's only like,
what do you mean?
Just like a couple guys that are still pretty local and like want to hold down their spot, there's probably I'd call it 2 to 3 waves in this town still that, if you're not from around or you don't have the respect built up, you'll still get pretty heckled or like told to go in type thing. But
so Santa Cruz still has this little quiet niches where if you're not local, don't go there.
Yeah, the spots that have the really tight takeoffs, I'd say, if you're shoulder to shoulder, there's one place to take off. That's where you could still kind of hold a spot down, But any spot that's got a wide range of takeoffs and like guys can paddle out from a bunch of different areas, then it's pretty open game. Yeah. But still, when the waves are firing, like out at Sewer Peak, we hold it down. We'll get a rotation of all the local guys, and like if you're not up, you're probably not going to get a set wave. Yeah.
Pleasure Point is also known more, like, I don't know, I guess it's known for longboarding, even though I think it's a good shortboarding wave too. It's a great shortboarding wave.
Yeah, it's everything, I surfed out there yesterday, and mixing it up with the longboarders. And, first peaks should be for the shortboarders. That's how it's meant to be. And second peaks for the longboarders. And they're right next to each other. And I explain that to people all the time out there when the longboarders come over to first peak. I'm like, no, you guys have your wave. We have ours. You stick to your zone, we'll stick to ours. And then it just works that way. But
what do they say?
It doesn't always register.
Okay.
There's a joke we go to, like, this guy does, I don't know if you follow New Point Local on Instagram.
No,
you really should.
I'll check it out.
Really, no, you should. It's hilarious. It's one of the older boys, and he's very clever. But like, he came up with this. It was like the Treaty of 1986, where the shortboarders and the longboarders agreed to surf their own zone.
Yes,
that's right. The Treaty of 86 or something. I've said that to guys before. I'm like, oh, you don't know about the treaty? Come on.
Yeah. Dude, that's so funny.
It's it's all BS, but it makes sense in my opinion.
No, it actually, it totally makes sense. I think it's a funner wave than the lane. Personally, it's more rippable. I think. Yeah. Like you said, when you were growing up, there was an East Side West Side rival. Were you always a shortboarder, or were you a longboarder?
Oh,
or did you do both?
Like I said, the longboard time went pretty quick. It was pretty in and out. Yeah, but like I said, like with that junior guards thing down in Capitola, that's where I was doing it, and that's a really good longboarding wave. We shortboarded there as Grom. When I was tiny, waist high in the summer, we'd get on like fun boards, soft boards, long boards, and just go right out there, which is pretty nice. And I think that adds to a lot of guys' style up here. Kind of like a Julian Wilson grew up, and I think what was it, Noosa or one of the places like that where like there's longboarding, and you kind of develop that style too. And if you can control a board like that and walk on the board, you kind of develop a little bit of elegance, I feel like, in your surfing. And that's what I feel like the point break surfers kind of have, is a bit more like elegance usually in their surfing.
As opposed to the beach breaks guys? Yeah,
well, the beach break guys, you got to create, like I said about speed creation, like you got to use your body a lot more. Flat sections and chop and whatnot, where like if you're on a long wave, like you kind of just use the wave and kind of cruise a lot more.
Right on. Okay, anything else about Santa Cruz? So you get older, you're not doing good in amateur contests, but you're doing okay in like the local pro-am contests and so forth?
Yeah. There was like, I remember like San Diego had that one series down there in San Diego.
Oh, so you came down to San Diego.
Once I hit 19, 20, 21, probably I was coming down every month to do those events.
Okay,
it was like always like a pro event and a pro junior, and I started making the finals and those things quite a lot and surfing against those guys. And they always had like an air show, which was really fun to do. Yeah, then just doing like the regional QS tour. We'd have the California events. I got to do lowers a few times, US Open, obviously East Coast events in Florida. Then there was always that San Miguel event in Mexico, which was a cool QS.
Oh yeah. And
then the Coldwater Classic they do up in Canada too. I was kind of like a North America regional tour type thing.
There was no PSA at that point. That was gone.
No,
right?
that was gone by then. Yeah.
So you're going down to San Diego, surf like where you surfing Mission Beach, Pacific Beach.
Yeah. OB,
and then
Mission Beach, PB. Yeah.
Is there other guys coming with you from Santa Cruz?
Yeah, we had a little crew. Yeah, like Austin Smithford was like my best friend.
Okay.
And he was a little bit more successful than I was as a pro surfer, and like he had like 3 cover shots at that point. And he was getting paid, and he pushed me a lot. So we got to do a lot of trips and stuff together. And we'd come down. Tyler Fox would come down with us. My friend Tony Mikis. I had a 1990 Volkswagen van, and we'd usually just jump in the van. Yeah, we jump in it, 3 of us, drive down, sleep in it, park at the beach. Just made it happen,
On the way down or the way up, coming back home, are you stopping along the way and surfing some of the more obscure, like big surf places?
Usually not big surf, just taking the ones a really long detour.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That's a whole side thing. But if there was ever like a Rincon swell, for sure, we're stopping at Santa Barbara. That'd probably be the one spot. Otherwise, we're probably just jamming up. Yeah.
What do you think of Rincon?
Oh, amazing. I love it. I mean, crowd's one thing to deal with. If you get the right wave out there, it's pretty phenomenal.
I'm glad you brought up crowds. When you were a Grom in Santa Cruz, Pleasure Point, and even the lane, versus today, what is the ratio to the crowd? Is it thicker, a lot thicker now?
Yeah, no, it's definitely thicker. I mean, I think anyone you've talked to probably ever since COVID, like, has noticed the resurgent or whatever, the surge in the crowd, like especially as in amateur surfing, novice surfers, and then now maybe intermediate surfers. Yeah, we can complain about it all we want, right? But like, what are we going to do about it? Like, there's nothing we can do. It's just the world, and the ocean's a free place to play. And You know, it's easy to get frustrated about it, but it's all good. It's a part of the evolution, I guess.
What I've noticed in Santa Cruz over the years being there is more so on the pleasure point size, the novice guys do go out as
There's
it
a
goes.
lot. Yeah. I just wish everyone like recognize if you recognize your level and stick to
Yeah.
the waves that are at your level, I think that would be really helpful. And like if you start to dabble in a spot that's maybe above your level and like recognizing like, oh, maybe I'm not like good enough yet. Like take your time to get there. Cause
Yeah.
like it's just the worst thing is like us on a good day at one of the good breaks and there's like a aggressive like intermediate surfer out there who can like just get to his feet, but then he's blowing like a pretty firing wave. You know, it's just that's for me is pretty frustrating.
How do you handle that?
Depends. I guess depends on their vibe, you know.
Okay.
Most likely nothing, but like if they're being like a dick in the water and paddle around you, like we're gonna say something. Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. It's an interesting time of surfing.
Yeah. And when the waves get real heavy and there's you're airdropping into the takeoff, the crowd usually at that point will sort itself out.
Yeah. But it does get dangerous, right? Especially
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
boards
I'm
flying.
not a maverick surfer. Just yeah, I'm not a big wave surfer. But like,
Yeah.
I look at my friends. Like, I have a lot of friends who surf mavs, and I'm scared for them for like, well, the wave for one, but like the crowd out there and the super aggressive dudes out there that probably shouldn't be out there. Looks sketchy.
At Mavericks?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like, look at
Wow.
those bluebird days out there. There's 100 guys out, and like, probably. I don't know. I'm not out there. I've watched it a handful of times, but I feel like
Yeah.
there's a lot of guys out there probably shouldn't be out there.
You have no desire to surf out there, or you just, or what's,
No, California scale. Like if the waves are over, yeah, we'll call it triple overhead, whatever. Like
yeah, that's
20
still
foot, 20
huge.
foot on the face. That's like my max. That's my comfort zone. I prefer like double overhead, 12 and 15 foot faces, something like that. Like
That's still
that.
huge.
Yeah, that'll still pound you. And that's like, I'll go surf Hawaii and stuff that size in Mexico or wherever we are, Indo, if it's a big day. I'm not a big wave surfer, not at all.
Yeah. You mentioned Hawaii. What's the difference in the waves, Santa Cruz versus Hawaii?
Quite a bit.
The water temperature and
Yeah, I mean, Hawaii's amazing. Like I've really enjoyed my time there. I'm obviously most of my years I'm there during, the peak season where it's just wild. And I was usually like working a different job, whether it was with Rip Curl or my coaching gig. So it's not all about me on these trips, like
okay.
I got a job to do, but I fit in my surfs when I can. I usually like to, depending on where I'm going, I bring 2 to 4 boards, on my
Okay.
trips, you know what I mean? Like depending,
Yeah.
if I'm going to Hawaii, I'll bring like 4 boards, but I'm going to Australia in 2 weeks. I'm going to bring 2 or 3. I haven't decided yet. So at least when the waves get good, like, I'm not going to be coaching all day. I got to find some time to surf myself, which
Yeah.
is super important
Break
for
away.
just important for your mental and physical well-being as a
Yeah,
surfer. You can't, it's funny. So to jump ahead, like right before I took this deep diving into coaching full time, I contacted Phil McNamara, who's
Okay.
Mick Fanning's childhood coach, and was with Mick Fanning for a lot of years on the road, and just to get like a good understanding of him, because when I was staying on the North Shore at the Rip Curl Team House those years, like I was
Yeah.
there for whatever, probably 8 years in a row. I really got to watch the surfer coach relationship, and that's kind of
Mhm.
like a part of how I fell in love with that idea of for myself doing it. I just really enjoyed that relationship, and I watched how they worked together. So anyway, before I quit Rip Curl and started my own business, I called or got on the phone with him, and he just told me, he's like, hey man, like one thing I really recommend is to make sure you keep surfing too. Like when you go on
Yeah.
these trips with your athletes and you're coaching with them, like you need to be in the water because you're going to understand and you'll be a better coach because of it.
Do you think it's easy to get caught up, kind of get burned out on surfing and while you're coaching, let's say, not want to surf?
Yeah, I mean, if the waves aren't good, for sure,
Yeah.
it's pretty easy to be over it. Especially if I'm around these events and like I was just at
All day.
I was just at Suples in Barbados, and like that's
Yes.
a spot that's like a one single takeoff pretty much spot.
Uh-huh.
And there's 100 guys there, 60 girls for this event. Me going out there, it doesn't really feel right. Taking waves are getting in the way, but like I think they all respect me. So I can go out there and I'll just be like, I'm just going to go get 3 waves. I'll go surf for
Okay.
20, 30 minutes, ride 3 or 4 waves, do a few cutbacks or whatever. And I can come
Yeah.
in happy and kind of replenished.
At a certain point, you turn pro, right?
Yeah, I think I was 19. Yeah. And that's when Kieran Horn was the team manager, and he approached me,
Wow.
and who I like really idolized. He was like one of the
Of course.
top guys up here.
Yeah.
He's a Coldwater Classic winner. really respected. But yeah, he approached me one day at the lane. He's like, I want to give you a contract and get you on the program. And I was like, okay, let's do this. So I was stoked.
Does that put pressure on you? Or
At
does it
that point,
push you
I
in a
think it
good way?
pushed me. Yeah, that was what I wanted. Like
It is.
I didn't
Okay.
expect that at the time either. And I remember like pretty soon after that, I got like my first 2-page spread in Transworld. This air shot that was like the last spread of the magazine, which was super cool. And
Yeah.
at the time, like photo incentives were all like a big deal. So like all your sponsor stickers are showing, and then you're like, oh, I'm doing it. Getting into the magazine.
Was that the first time in the mag, or was that just the biggest spread
I'd
you
been
had?
in some smaller magazines, but I think that was my first shot in one of the major magazines. Yeah.
What did your family say?
Oh,
Were they
they were
stoked?
stoked, dude. It was cool. You don't even know it's happening. Like the magazine comes in the mailbox. Like there's no
Mm.
social media. Dude, my phone, it was a flip phone.
Yeah.
Like it was sick. You open up the mailbox, you flip through the magazine, you see yourself, and like at that point, that's like as big as it gets, other than winning contests, kind of.
No, that's probably, in some ways, it was even bigger.
Yeah,
You're there forever.
yeah.
Really?
And then I think the following issue, I got an interview in it too.
Wow.
So it was like back-to-back issues, got some love. So that was super cool.
Are you calling people, or are you letting them see it organically? Like, I mean, are you bragging about it? Which is fine if you are. I would.
I can't,
Okay.
I remember like, again, back to my buddy Austin, who got the covers, he'd bring it to school. And then like,
Of course.
it was the coolest thing.
Of course,
Dude,
yeah.
he's in high school, the cover shot of Surfing Magazine. And we're like, we were so jealous.
Of course, yeah. It's something pretty rad. There's 12 episodes or issues a year.
Yeah.
You make one of those, dude, that's big
Well,
news.
yeah. And then anybody in the world could get the cover, right? Like anyone.
Anybody, yeah.
And
Could have
like,
been Nick Fanning,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you turn pro, how are you approaching it? Are you changing your surfing?
So this is funny. So this is what Kieran told me. He said, hey, like what's important to us as your major sponsor, we want, like, this is a job for you, right? And he goes,
Okay.
you need to be shooting photos or getting video clips every day. He's like, wake up
Wow.
every day and like, that's your job. And I was like, all right, okay, let's do it. So I was working with, there's 3 or 4 photographers here in town. And for us, that was what we were supposed to do. We started making surf movies. There are these movies called Get Rad. I don't know if you've heard of those.
No, but I want to look him up.
This guy, yeah, you should. They're old school Santa Cruz surf. Kyle Boothman, who
Okay.
he's a really talented videographer, cinematographer. He was also a pro, like, with Quicksilver, but he went the video route and he started making these like local surf films, and like they became kind of like a big thing here. Like you do a premiere in the summertime, 700 people showed up to the movie theater, sold out. We like we showed up in a limo, dressed up nice, and we were like,
That's rad.
the stars of the show for our little.
It was a Santa Cruz centric movie.
Yeah, yep, yeah. And
Cool.
there's 3 of them, and they're called Get Rad 1, 2, and 3.
Can you find those on YouTube?
Yeah. He finally put them out on YouTube. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. I'm going to watch
And
those.
still,
later
people
today.
to this day like ask me about that. We totally took the Taylor Steele route, and we did little skits and to make them entertaining and funny and whatnot. So it's pretty fun. Yeah, we were pretty creative.
Who else was in the movies with you?
Every Santa Cruz guy,
Okay.
you name them, they're
Yeah.
in it. Like our generation, like Austin, and then like guys like Nick Lamb, and then there's all the older guys, Rat Boy, Adam Rapogel, Peter Mel.
Were you guys coming up with your own skits?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, we're kind of collabing. Yeah. Yeah, you'll see the one in Get Rad 2. The whole film is like he's on his phone calling all the boys one at a time to go film and meet up and surf. And I think
Yeah.
I'm the opening section, and we remake it. So again, this is my 1990 red Volkswagen Vanagon. It's a full like hippie van, right?
Yeah.
We've been like up all night partying. It's like the theme. And there's like 12 people in my van. We're popping champagne. There's like disco lights going, disco ball. And he's like, waves are firing, get out there. And like, we open the door and like, everyone's like piling out of my van. Like somehow we fit like 15 people in there. And then I'm in my wetsuit and I'm like running out to go surf, basically.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Was that fun doing that?
Super fun. Yeah. We had a good time.
Now you're traveling up and down the coast. Are you going elsewhere too? Are you doing, was it ASP
Yeah.
then?
It was ASP. Yeah. There wasn't a ton of events, but I do all the events in our region. I didn't travel internationally for that, but I would go like every summer. I'd be doing some sort of big trip, going to Indo quite a bit, going to
Right on.
Bali.
Now you go to Indo for the first time. What are your thoughts of it?
Oh, dude. The first time to Bali was in 2005. It was still when it was empty there. We basically surfed Karamas every day for 2 weeks. and there's nothing there. You had to walk like half a mile to get to it. One warong on the beach. It was actually when Taylor Steele was filming Campaign, was when I was
Oh, okay.
there. And I remember like my first day at literally my first day at Kramis, I'm 18 years old. And I see a guy coming down the beach with 2 boards and then like an Indo dude next to him with a board. And it was Slater. And he
Oh,
was
wow.
he was showing up with 3 boards. He had his boards and like a third board, like a board caddy. I was like tripping. I was like, wow. And this is when Slater is like as big as he gets, right?
Yeah.
You know,
Did you surf
2005.
next to him, like right next to him at that point?
Yeah. And that same trip, we saw Taj Burrow jumping out of the helicopter, trying to jump into
wow.
the wave. Yeah.
Yeah. Trippy. So did you talk to those guys, or were you intimidated? Or?
No, I talked to him. Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
I saw Slater at the bar one night, actually, and definitely that was the night I talked to him the most. It was like, I think it was right after he beat Andy at J-Bay, actually.
Wow.
And like that super dramatic heat where like finished on the beach. Yeah, that was pretty cool. I remember like my dream was to like rip a wave hard enough for Taylor Steele to like use it or get the clip.
Right.
And I did get like a crazy spitting barrel, and then I was way too scared. I didn't even ask him.
Oh, you didn't?
I didn't. No, but I kind of, wish I would have.
Yeah.
At least asked him the clip, or maybe if he was filming. But it was my best wave out at Kramis, like a nuts spitter, and I was like, oh, maybe he got that, but I was too embarrassed to ask.
Looking back, you wish you would. Yeah, because he probably did tape it.
Maybe. I mean, it was a good set wave. You know, the waves were firing that day.
So you didn't walk up and introduce yourself to him?
Not to Taylor Steele. I don't know. For some reason, he was like, he's kind of quiet, you know, and like, you know, he was everything in surf media at the time.
At that point,
still is kind of. But
you do this pro tour thing, and how's it going for you?
Not great. You know,
Not great.
Make a couple heats here and there, like couple quarterfinal finishes at like ECSC in Virginia. You know, making a couple heats, I'm just going through the motions of it. And then, you know, really focusing on the Coldwater Classic here. That was like the main event, you know?
Yeah.
But it was hard to get into it because it was up to like a 6-star, and then it was a 6-star prime. So we'd all have to do the trials to do it because we didn't have those international QS points that everyone had.
Yeah.
So you had to be in the top whatever 100 or 200. So I'd always do the local trials, and it took me, I think, maybe 3 or 4 years to finally make it. And then
were they doing the trials at the lane?
At the lane, yeah. And it was it was all of us. It was like so it was 16 of us, right? It starts in the quarters, semifinal, top 2 guys make the main event. And I think the 4th year finally, and there's no priority back then. So it was like, I'd be battling heats against Rufo, Josh Loya, all the older boys, Randy Bonds. It was like ruthless. It was really aggressive, super aggressive.
Was it? Even though these guys are just the guys you surf next to every day?
Yeah, but they're older. They're, you know, 5-10 years older than you, and they're not going to give you an inch out there. And I remember finally the last year, and it was the 6-star prime. It was a big deal, really big event. I think, I forgot who won that year, but I think it was the last year I did. It was 2011, honestly. And that was the year I ended up winning the trials, and I got into the main event, and I got to surf against the number 1 seed, which was Julian Wilson.
Wow.
Which is and then Mitch Cruz, who also was on the CT for a few years. So I got to surf against those guys, which was pretty epic.
With all your time at the lane, and you're seeing the top guys, Julian Wilson and whoever else is surfing there, are they understanding the wave like you do, or it's kind of a weird wave?
It's a funky wave, but like a lot of those top guys can read waves really well, you know, and they start to figure it out, but it takes time because there's a lot of different moods at the lane. The waves come in from so many different angles, depending on the swell. The lane sucks it all in different ways. I mean, there's the point, the slot, middle peak. There's a right and a left off middle peak. There's indicators on the inside. Basically 5 waves in one wave, you know, in one area.
And those guys they're handling it though, right?
Yeah.
How was the heat with Julian?
That was epic, dude. I almost made it. I got third. I got a 7. I just told the story the other day because I was out the lane with some of the Groms, but yeah, I got a 7 on a wave where I did like a nice straight air first section of the wave. Finished it, and then I needed like another high 6 or a 7. And I remember I was like paddling into this wave, and Mitch Cruz, this dude from Australia, you know who that is?
I know he is,
yeah. He last second paddled around me because there's no priority, and I ended up going over the falls backwards, like into the cliff, and it was a super dirty move, and I lost it. Like it was like the hardest I've probably ever yelled at someone, like in the water in the Jersey, like. Cussed him out.
What do you do?
I wanted to fight straight up. Like I've never
Yeah.
even been in a fight. I'm not a
Really?
fighter, but like I was super, super angry because I knew it was like one of my last years doing it. I realized that, and like I got into that such a big heat, such a big moment, and then that happened, and him and I ended up both losing. This guy Lincoln Taylor made the heat, and then I saw him at the bar at one of like the Color Classic after parties later in the week, and he came up to me and like we hugged it out, and we've been like
Okay.
friends ever since then.
Let's talk about today with that scenario. So you say it was a sneaky move, but it was a contest. He's trying to make it too, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was definitely a dirty, like it was my turn for sure. Like I'd been waiting. The wave was coming to me. It was like less than 5 minutes left and I'm in the
Yeah.
spot. And like, what's too deep out there. Like,
You do, yeah.
I've spent my whole life surfing out there.
Right.
And I knew like I had to take off right here to make the wave. So I'm paddling to get to the spot and he whips it behind me and we both, I go over the falls, he doesn't make the wave, and it's just a wasted opportunity for everybody. And we finish in third and fourth,
Yeah. Which just sucks.
But it was legal
So-
what he did.
Yeah,
he didn't
that's
get
what I mean.
interference, but like this day and age, the kids, dude, everyone's stoked, dude. They don't have to deal with that.
Because the priority.
Yeah, priority, it's amazing.
In the scenario like that, I guess there's not always that scenario with priority, but how would you tell one of your students or
Well, at the
one your
beginning of
surfers-
the heat, there's no priority.
It's open, yeah.
Yeah.
So what are you going to tell one of the guys you're coaching or gals you're coaching? How would you tell them to approach that?
And what do you mean exactly?
Given the inside up. Or
Like
would you
to start the heat now we're talking
Yeah,
about?
yeah, starting the heat.
Starting
Same
the heat?
scenario as you were in.
Okay. Yeah, no, we talk about this all the time. This is like,
Okay.
this is a big one, like it depends if it's a 4-man heat or a man-on-man heat too.
Yep,
Right?
okay.
And it depends what the waves are doing. Depends if you're at a point break versus a beach break. So for the
Mhm.
instance at the lane, like if someone holds the inside on you and the good
Yeah.
wave's coming, I want my guy or girl to force them as deep as possible. Like if they beat you to the inside,
Yeah.
you at least you gotta force them to have as awkward and as tough takeoff as imaginable, because you can't just give them a nugget to start the heat.
Right.
You got to make it tough on them. That's if they hold the inside on you.
Yeah.
So you want to be that. You want to be pushing them as deep as you can. Or hopefully you're holding the inside. You win the paddle battle, start the heat, then you're on a good one. But it's tough. Ideally, a lot of my guys, like I trust all my surfers surfing, like I really do. And ideally, like waves get caught as soon as possible, and we're into the priority rotation, because then the heat really
Okay.
can just get going. Like back when Mick was on tour, watch Mick Fanning surf, he was rarely battling for the inside because he trusted himself. He trusted his surfing. He wanted to outsurf you. Versus like Medina could straight up outsurf anybody, but he also is going to hold the inside no matter what. And they made the Medina rule a couple of years ago. I was actually at Bell's when this happened. Him and Federico Moraes were surfing a heat at Winky Pop, and they're forcing each other so deep that they went past where the waves are breaking up towards Bell's Bowl.
Right. Too far.
Yeah, what they call the knuckle, and they're up there, and literally they're just wasting the entire heat, paddle battling, like, and the waves are just going by. So they made this new rule, which is a Medina rule. They've had a few of them because of him, but and we can get to the other one too. Basically, there's a thing now called a block. If the inside surfer is holding position and the guy on the shoulder also wants the wave, if you're the deeper guy and you don't go, the guy on the shoulder gets priority, even without catching the wave. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're the deeper guy, it's a surfable wave. You don't go, you just hold the guy off. The next guy's going to have priority. And that's a new rule in the last, we'll call it 3 or 4 years.
Okay. Now going backwards real quick, and we'll just kind of touch on it because I would like to talk about coaching. Your pro years, what happens? Yeah,
so they're kind of dwindling. I switched from O'Neill to Fox, which was epic. Chris Drummond approached me when Foxhead, was kind of blowing up in the surf industry. I think Kalani Robb, Eric Geiselman, a couple other guys. We had a pretty sick team, and it was really fun to be a part of that. Got to go on some really sick trips. I had a couple ads in the mags with those guys. Got to do the team house in Hawaii. Spent a lot of time with Demia Dorsey, who was like the staff photographer. Yeah, I did that. Must have been like, I'd call it 3 or 4 years of that. So now I'm getting into like the mid-20s, probably 24-ish by now. And yeah, that was fun. That was kind of my last years as a quote unquote, whatever, regional C-level pro surfer.
At what point do you feel like you need a transition? Do you feel like that?
Yeah, I remember when I got the call about my contract getting clipped. My parents were smart though. They really encouraged me to go to the community college. So I was like just kind of ticking away at it every year. I was taking like 1 or 2 classes here,
Cool.
another online a lot of the time, or like the once a week night class that you'd have to show up to. So I kind of built up my credits at least so that when that time came when I wasn't going to be a pro surfer anymore, I could like go to college. So yeah, that was kind of the plan. Like after I lost that Fox deal, I was like, you know what? I'm 24, turning 25. Maybe I'll just go to school now. It was funny at the time. One of my other best friends, Nick Granger, was the Rip Curl team manager, and he was going to go into athlete management. He wanted to stop and become an athlete manager.
Okay.
All their deals, and he, without really knowing, like he kind of like put me on the Rip Curl team as a team rider. But he had an idea that I was going to replace him. He kind of like led me to it, basically. When he left that same year, yeah, he recommended myself, and that's when Dylan Slater called me and it was like, hey, I want you to interview for the job. I'd been with the Rip Curl probably 5 or 6 months as a team rider.
All of a sudden you're getting this interview. How's that going?
Yeah, well, that's probably one of the biggest forks in the road in my life, right? Like 25 years old, lived in Santa Cruz all my entire life, right? All I've done is like basically gone surfing, right? Gone surfing, done the little things here and there. And I was like, whoa, like moving to Southern California, that's like, for us, it's like a huge deal. Sketchy. like kind of like,
is it frowned upon?
A little, yes. Yeah, it was. Okay. Yeah. But luckily, like Frankie D'Andrea, you know Frankie?
No, I know the name though.
Yeah, he's been in the surf industry a long time.
Yeah.
He had done it a few years before me, and I really looked to him and saw his success. I think he had become the Nike team manager by that point in time, something like that, a pretty big role. And I saw his success and how he was doing it. He's someone I really admired. A couple other guys, Zach Boone, a little bit older, had done it, and a few other guys. You know what? This is a pretty big opportunity. I went down for the interview and kind of nailed that interview. It's funny, the Get Rad movie actually really helped me get the job. The whole marketing team saw that skit with the surfing and they like fell in love with me from that.
Oh, rad. That's so cool.
Just to show some character, I guess.
Years later, it helps.
Yeah. Yeah, I went down there, did the interview, and yeah, they offered me the job, and I took it on part-time for like 2 or 3 more months from like October to December as I like phased. I was still going to school too, and I wanted to finish those credits, and it took like 6 years, but I got my 2-year associate's degree, liberal arts and sciences here from the community college, and I was basically getting ready to transfer to San Jose State, and I was going to go into teaching. I wanted to be a PE teacher, so I was doing all these hours at the junior high here, kind of getting all those credits in order. That was kind of like what I was going to do.
All right.
Which is funny because, that was the fork in the road. It's like, go to San Jose State, go to the university, or just skip that and go straight into this marketing role at Rip Curl. And that's what I did. Yeah. And I moved to Newport Beach right there on 41st Street down there. And, went from surfing point breaks to waist high beach break.
Yeah. Newport gets super fun though.
It does. Sometimes, but there's a lot of bad days in between.
Yeah. You're walking up the 54th Street or what are you?
Yeah. I was walking back into surf, dude. It was sick. It was fun.
So now you got a whole nother crew of surfers. You're kind of that. Well, you probably know some of these guys from surfing contests and being around California.
Yeah. I had some friends down there. So it took a while. It was definitely a big adjustment period. Really just the change of pace going from my lifestyle to, dude, I was working at a desk 8 hours a day.
Yeah. Okay.
And you have to, your time to surf is 7 to 8 a.m. or squeeze in 30 minutes at lunch if you want to charge it, or hopefully there's enough light, and then you surf after work when it's blown out and shitty.
Are you enjoying the job?
Yeah, man. I loved it. Yeah. Dude, I did it for a decade. I did it for 10 years.
Yeah, I know.
It was great. I learned so much and made so many great connections and developed my kind of my work ethic and how to grow in my career. And, I got to travel the world with the world's best surfers and got to be really close with a handful of literally the best surfers in the history of surfing,
Yeah, 100%. And Rip Curl's huge and some of the best guys in the world, Mick and.
Yeah. Mick and Gabe and Tom and Tyler Wright and Owen, Wilco, all them.
So, but you said you're behind a desk 8 hours. So is it like Monday through Thursday you're at a desk and then Friday you're on an airplane to Australia or something?
Not really. It's basically anytime you're not on one of your work trips, you're at the desk.
Wow.
Or if you're not at one of the contests, right? So obviously I'm going to a lot of the Grom events on the weekends as a team manager to support the amateur team. Any of the events in North America, I'm pretty much going to most of those to support the team. spending 3-4 weeks in Hawaii every year for the Triple Crown, there for the Pipe Masters every year.
Yep.
Going to Bells Beach pretty much every year for that event, which was amazing. Love that.
And Rip Curl's sponsoring half the events probably at this point.
Yeah, well, they sponsored like 2 World Tour events.
Okay.
Pretty much, and then my main gig though is running the Rip Curl Grom Search. That was.
Okay, I was just going to ask you about
yeah.
the
So that was my baby. Like I was all in on that. That took probably 40 to 50% of my time.
Well, I believe it.
And I was running the whole thing top to bottom, along with Darren Brillhart was our other event director. I was securing sponsorships, promoting the events, getting all the signups, making the heat draws. I was hiring the staff, coming up with the marketing and promotions, doing the whole thing.
Was that already in existence when you got there, or did you?
Yeah.
Oh, it was
already
there.
Yeah. So it was kind of already paved. I really grabbed a hold of that thing and became my deal for a long time. And I really built that thing up to a pretty big.
At that point too, the kids are the who's who of who's going to be the next big thing. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Our winners list is really, prestigious. For
prestigious.
Sure.
Yeah. That's a good word.
Yeah. We'd rehearse all the international winners. So they just did the international final, but our national winners list was pretty much every girl that won that thing made the CT and half the guys.
Wow. Is it in existence still?
It is. Yeah.
It is.
It's funny. I thought it was such a huge deal when I was running it, but from my perspective now, it's not quite as big, but maybe that's because I'm up here in Santa Cruz, a little detached from it.
Yeah. Yeah. And my thing is my son, he's 21 now. So they were big back then.
Yeah.
So.
Did he compete in this?
No.
But
we know a lot of the kids that did. So it was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And it was the who's who of the kids coming up.
Yeah. The last 2 years I ran it, I actually hosted the finals at the Waco wave pool, which was,
oh, really?
I think I'm pretty sure I put on the first ever amateur event in a wave pool in world history. That event. Yeah. Created a format. I actually created a wave with the engineers. We came up, we made our own wave for it.
Wow. Did you get to test it?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
What do you think of Waco?
Oh, love it. Love it. Yeah.
How often do you go there? How often have you been there?
I went there, I'd probably say 5 or 6 times.
They have several different, they can tweak the wave, right?
Yeah. When you get those private sessions, you can customize, you make your own, basically it's a DJ playlist of waves. I'll be I'll write it out on a piece of paper and hand it to the guy and be this is how we want it. 20 minutes of this, 15 minutes of that, then go into this.
That's rad.
We want the air section, then the barrel,
The engineer guy that's doing that, punching it on the computer or whatever, does that guy surf?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
they surf.
So he's from
a
beach community.
No, I think, half of them, they learn to surf at the wave pool kind of.
So he's a newer surfer.
Yeah. Some of them. There's a couple different guys that work.
Right on.
Yeah. No worries.
So you do the whole rip curl thing. You're doing the Grom Search, which is rad. It's awesome. It becomes giant, or it is giant, I guess. At what point do you decide to move on?
Yeah. So that all that happened, during the pandemic, actually. So
everything changed.
You know how we all, the whole surf industry got furloughed and whatnot? Yeah. So you get some time off, whatever.
Yeah.
And I'd already been thinking about it for a few years. My main thing was I was really interested in moving home to Santa Cruz.
That was your goal.
Just where my heart is. I wanted to settle here, and I just got married last year to beautiful wife, Melody.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I was stoked. It's back in October, so just 6 months or whatever ago. Yeah, I just wanted to get home, and I never could really figure out how. It took years. I was thinking about it for years, what am I going to do? Maybe I'll become the Rip Curl sales rep for this area, but they already had somebody doing that. What else could I do? Right. So that was a big question I had for a really long time. Was trying to figure out. And when the pandemic happened, I got furloughed. One of my Groms from Hawaii, actually, he's from the South Shore, Oahu. His mom reached out to me. He's like, "Hey, would you mind doing some online coaching with my son? We'll send you video clips." And that's
cool.
That's how this whole thing started. His name's Diego Ferry. And they reached out, and I was like, "Okay, yeah, send me 5 to 10 waves, and then we'll do a Zoom call. I'm going to watch them, and I'll talk you through all your waves." That's really how it kind of began.
So going way back to when you were 18 and being a junior guard, you liked working with kids then?
Yeah, for sure.
You've always had that.
Yeah. I mean, as a team manager, my team manager years, the team's, a handful of pros, but the majority are all teenagers.
Right. Okay.
I'm managing, my team was usually about 40 people.
Wow.
Tom Curran, I was super close to Tom. down to like Taylor Knox for a while there, like Alana
Yeah.
Blanchard, Bethany Hamilton, Dylan Perlow, and then down to the, the years with Mason Ho, Connor Coffin. And then it was like all Groms before that,
Yeah. So you're coaching this kid online, and then what does that light bulb go off in your head? Like, I can do this
Yeah.
more?
Yeah. So I spent like months researching like online, all the different coaches around the world.
Yeah.
Seeing what they're doing, what their programs were like, how they do it. And back to like what I always kind of fall back to, and also is like those years in Hawaii again at the Rip Curl House during the Pipe Masters. I really loved the coach surfer relationship. Like watching Mick with his coach, watching Glenn Hall with his crew, which was Wilco and Owen Wright, and just seeing that dynamic. It was just something I was always attracted to.
Okay.
And as a team manager, you do a little bit of coaching. Like it's a little small percentage of the job. You're there supporting the Groms and the guys at events, and you're just kind of like, you're a support team for them. And with coaching, it's all about, making sure your athlete feels as comfortable as possible, right? Comfortable and confident and clear-headed and amped and happy when they're going out, put that jersey on. If they can feel relaxed and fired up, you know what I mean? Like a good combination, in a really clear headspace, and they're going to usually excel. If they're unprepared and nervous and unsure what to do, that's usually when the bad heats happen.
Someone like Glenn Hall, who was on the CT, gets injured. He's out forever, right? I think it was a back injury or something.
Yeah, gnarly back injury, Fiji.
Then all of a sudden he's on the scene and he's coaching the best guys in the world. Like, is it natural to be a coach, do you think? For Glenn Hall or for you, or just being a coach in general?
I think depends what type of personality you have, right? You have to be pretty selfless to be a coach. Like you got to be putting your athlete first. And I think for Glenn, like he'd probably be the first one to admit that his talents didn't take him to the top. It was everything else. Like he was clearly a talented surfer, but
of course,
his mental fortitude is really what took him to that high level. Making the right decisions, understanding how competition works, being prepared, just his approach to competitive surfing. And I'd say I'm pretty similar to him in that way. Like my skills, like I still love surfing and I consider myself a good surfer, but I never reached any super high level. And my athletes I coach know that. Like they know I surf well, but they know I never made the CT. So I guess that is always maybe a slight fear of mine. Like when I'm comparing myself to like, who knows, a Jake Patterson, who I Snake. And that's another guy I studied a ton. I watched the Snake Tails videos, saw his program and how he did it, and mad respect to those guys, But dude, I'm showing up to events and I'm coaching really high level surfers and we're taking really big wins pretty often.
That's awesome.
And I love it. Like it's my favorite thing in the world.
What do you feel if one of your kids does well? Do you feel like you're partially responsible for that, or?
Yeah, it's funny. Sometimes you feel like if you do feel responsible, you almost feel selfish a little bit, but, for me, it's like I have these really tight bonds with them and you're just genuinely happy for their success.
Of course.
And how much it means to them and how hard they've worked for it and how much time and energy, money, emotions they've put into it and how many hard losses they've had and how that's affected them. So when you see them succeed, it's like a really special feeling.
That's rad.
Like John Mel this past Sunday, was that 5 days ago? And I actually wasn't there. I took the event off because I'd been on the road for 25 days with the boys. I'd been in the Caribbean for that whole QS leg, and I got the Challenger Series coming up and wanted to get home just to handle some life things, right? It was like straight from Barbados to Huntington Beach, and I was like, you know what, guys? Like we've just done 5 events in a row together. Like I'm gonna head home. You guys got this. I was still talking to him every day, like texting, phone calls between heats and whatnot, but I wasn't like hands-on coaching that event. I was watching all the heats online on my couch and enjoying it. John, who's obviously from Santa Cruz, a 3rd generation surfer from here.
Of course. I mean, yeah.
And, he was one of my first main dudes that I worked with. He actually was my first pro surfer that I worked with on the male side.
Okay.
I put the most time in with John.
A question about John, him personally. Why didn't he get coaching from his dad, I guess is the question. Why did he go to you? So
I think Pete definitely did a lot of coaching before I came around, but something you got to understand, and this is for all the parents, hopefully that listen out there, there's a separate relationship, right?
Completely.
And I think, and you can see it with what happened when Dino stopped coaching Kolohe, right? When he gave the reins to Snips.
Mike Parson.
And I just really genuinely believe I'm not a parent. I don't have kids, but I do. At one point, the parent needs to be the parent and be the love and support, right?
I think you're right.
And then that's going to allow your son or daughter to free up and not have that parental pressure.
Yeah.
The parents all love, we love you, win or lose. I'm here to support you. We believe in you. I think that's the role of the parent.
Right.
And then
I think you're right.
The coach, and I'm the one who I'm going to tell you when you're blowing it. I'm be like, these are all your mistakes. This is how we're going to clean it up. This is what you can do better. Because you don't want to hear that from your parent. Like how does that, imagine me saying the same thing that a parent says, the way they're going to react.
Different.
And if the parent, also for these groms that I work with, the parents will be like, oh no, you got to do this, right? Whether it's some technique thing. You got to turn your head more on this turn to look back in the pocket. And the kid's going to be like, whatever, dad. And then I go and tell them it, they're going to listen.
Yeah.
Which is pretty funny.
Makes sense.
But,
that's why I had to ask that question.
Yeah.
Do you ever have to pull one of the parents to the side and be like, to have a talk with the parent, like, I got this kind of thing?
Sort of. Never been a big dramatic moment in that sense, but there's definitely times where like I kind of like slyly kind of point that opinion, I guess.
So it's hard to be a coach.
Yeah, it's not easy. No, it's not easy. I'm coaching every single day up here for the most part.
So I asked you the first part, when there's success and one of them makes a great heat or wins an event or so forth, how do you feel when they don't do so good?
Oh, dude, it hurts. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like I cried last year at Haleiwa a little bit.
Wow.
Alyssa Spencer, who I think's been on your podcast, right?
Yep.
Third year in a row, coming up
I know.
one to two spots short of qualification. And I've known her since she was 11 years old. I put her on the Rip Curl team. I've known her going almost on 10 years. That one hurt, dude. Like, we traveled the whole year, all year together. We're super close, really close with her family. She was the first, when I said John was the first guy, she was the first professional, top ranked surfer that approached me when I started the coaching thing. Okay. I had a couple of amateur grounds, but she was the first one, like, let's do this. And when I went to my first event coaching was the Jax Pro. That was 2.5 years ago. And she was my only client at the event.
Wow.
Yeah. So I went from her, then I added John Mel, and then there's a whole trickle down effect after that. When John introduced me to Nolan, met Nolan, we all of a sudden we get third place at the US Open. And then my door kind of blew open. Rio Ueda approaches me the next day.
Wow.
Brisa Hennessy, we go to France the next event, we win that event. And then it's just like kind of all downhill from there.
Wow. Huge names.
Yeah. And then but going back to the moment in Hawaii. Yeah. Back. So this was just, again, for basically the third year in a row for Alyssa, came down to like one heat,
It's crazy. I was cheering her on big time.
Yeah. And just the event didn't go her way. And it was just, it hurt. It hurt. And I just, again, my life's going to go, I'm fine either way. Like, I'm going to make it work, like, I'm good, but it's just my empathy for her and, in that moment. But again, she's just going to come back stronger this year. Guarantee she's going to be better. She just had a full off season. She's surfing the best she's ever have. And she's learned from so much. She's still so young. She's 20 years old.
Yeah.
She's got a huge future. She's just going to be better for it,
That's
but in those moments, it hurts, like this last event in Barbados, my 4 guys I'm working with, who are all trying to make the Challenger Series. None of them made it.
Wow.
The top 7, only the top 7 in all of North America make it. And there's really good guys. Like, it's a deep field. And my guys finished 10th, 11th, 12th, and 20th.
Wow.
So we got 4 guys top 20, 3 guys right on the bubble, but we didn't make it.
I guess I should ask you this in the beginning. You don't call it Matt Myers coaching. You call it Matt Myers mentorship.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the difference? Or is there a difference?
No, there is. Absolutely. And that's why I purposely obviously chose that name early on, because I feel like I'm more than just a coach. I feel like I'm a mentor to these, aspiring young surfers, professional surfers who are chasing their dreams. It's more than just the coaching, because it's a whole aspect of your life and your approach to it all. Yeah. So I like to be there, because obviously your heat, the coaching part, that's only a few minutes of that day, but it's so much more than that as far as your preparation and being ready for those moments.
Do you think surfing contest is the only way to go pro surfing?
It's probably I mean, there's no easy way, but it's the easier of the ways. Like if you're like, I want to be a professional free surfer. That's good luck, man. They're just like,
Yeah.
what percentage of surfers are that? Like,
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
I think there was a period.
There was, and there still is a few.
Yeah.
A guy I worked with briefly last year, who's a great dude from South Africa, Shane Sykes. He this year quit competing. He quit competing, and Vans is his major sponsor, which obviously aligns well for this. But he's gonna get paid to be a free surfer, which I think stabbed an article saying he got the golden ticket in that light. But that's not happening every day.
No. And do you think with no magazines, it's harder to be a free surfer, or do you think Instagram picks up the slack? What do you think?
It's different because like the surfers, where are you getting your money, right? It's from your sponsors.
Right.
As a free, right. 100% of it is from your sponsors. Right. Unless you're a YouTuber, unless you're getting income from YouTube, right?
Which is probably really hard.
Yeah. I mean, Jamie, of course, crushes that. Mason's got a good deal. A couple of the other Hawaiians, Koa.
But they're working hard too.
Yeah. So that's like a
Ben
full-time
Gravy,
job.
all those kind of guys.
So that's one route, but I mean, how many guys in the world can achieve that? Not a lot. There's probably 10 to 20, maybe in the world doing that. So that's why I just think the free surf routes, it's tough. Like
it's not the same.
My really good friend here who I sponsored, Noah Wagrich, is probably the only professional free surfer in Santa Cruz, in this town of however many surfers there are. He's the only one getting paid to be a free surfer.
With that being said, pro surfing is the best way, I guess, of going. Is that what you're saying? The best way to be a pro surfer?
I mean, if that's but it has to be your passion. Like you have to absolutely love it. You gotta love it. If you're a competitive surfer and don't love competing, get out of here.
What does that mean? Become an electrician or something? I mean, what is that?
Well, it depends. Whatever else. Yeah.
Find another passion.
Yeah.
And just free surf after work.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah. I mean,
no, that's fair.
Companies aren't handing out paychecks, dude.
No.
I know what it's like on the other side. Like,
you do.
You got to show some value for those brands.
With that being said, what do you think of pro surfing, WSL, and so forth? Do you have thoughts?
I'm a huge fan. Yeah.
Are you?
Oh yeah. I think it's an amazing platform. Broadcasts nowadays, what they used to be, they're just incredible. Yeah.
It's free to watch. It's great.
It's free. Yeah. I think if they needed the money, I think they could charge to do it. I'd pay.
Would you?
I think a lot of people would.
Okay.
There'd be a lot of drama there. I know even when Stab went from free to premium, there's a lot of drama, for the Stab premium.
With that being said, though, there's certain venues where it's not going to make sense to pay, right?
What do you mean?
I don't. I mean, there's got to be.
Well,
let's say when they went to G-Land, obviously they're not. How do you mean paid on pay-per-view kind of?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you meant pay to enter? No.
Oh yeah. Beach, like the beach guys.
Well, it's funny. Bell's
like
Beach
the OP Pro or something.
Bell's Beach is the only event you actually pay to attend.
Oh, do you pay to go?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I think it's like, I forgot what it costs. Might be 10 or 20 bucks a day, cool. Or like you can pay 30 or 40 or something for the whole event.
Oh, that's cool.
I never had to pay, of course, so I don't know exactly. But yeah. That was the only event I've ever been to where you have to pay to attend.
So you think the WSL should get a subscription kind of thing?
I thought for online, for the viewing.
Oh, that'd be cool. I'll pay for that.
I mean, I think they charged $20 for the year or something.
I would pay 100% pay that.
That's what, 10 events, $2 an event, right?
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
And
so do you think that's?
I mean, if I was a WSL, I'd consider it, but I wonder if they're scared of losing, an exponential amount of viewers. I don't know. I don't know that conversation, but
what about like the cut and so forth? You hear all the.
Oh, that's a hot topic.
It is a hot topic.
I think overall, I'm anti-cut. If I had to choose one stance or the other, I just think it's really unfair for a rookie who worked his entire life to get to that point, doesn't get a full year on tour. I just hate it. But from a viewer perspective, from the fan perspective, and from creating drama from Eric Logan and the WSL perspective, I see how it makes sense. You're going to draw a lot of interest by having this cut. But if I had to choose, I'd say no.
Do you like the 3 tiers?
I really like the
Challenger.
Yeah. And some people still have trouble with that, but I really do think it makes sense. As long as they can maintain the quality of this Challenger series. I know they had some struggles with it this year, but it's coming out. It's going to be 6 events, top 4 events count. Pretty good locations, especially Snapper. It sucks that we lost Haleiwa to finish the year. It's going to finish in Brazil, which will be interesting.
But,
like it.
So my personal take on it is the challenge is almost more exciting to watch because you're seeing the guys that
Right.
are going to be on tour next year. Some of the new
Dude,
guys.
a lot of people love it, dude. Like,
I like
mean,
it.
I mean, I have a really small YouTube channel. Like, it's pretty
Okay.
tiny.
You-
It's Myers Surf Mentorship. I would
I'll put it on the show notes.
It's funny. I coached. Yeah, please do. I coached for the first time Jackson Dorian recently down in Pismo for a QS, which
Wow.
is cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
super
yeah,
cool.
yeah. I've worked with so many cool guys. But he was like, Matt, you need to have like a catchier YouTube name. I love it. Was how sick is that? The Grom just told me that straight up. He's like, you need like a, so maybe, I don't know if anyone listens to this, they can come up with a good name for me.
Yeah. Well, hold on. Let's stop there. I don't think he's a normal Grom though, right?
No.
This guy.
Yeah.
Besides being probably one of the most amazing kid surfers, Groms surfing, is who his dad is. He's just.
Of course.
Was it intimidating coaching something like that?
Well,
Do you get intimidated? I guess.
Not coaching him, but like obviously I have such a huge respect for his dad. Like he is,
of course,
straight up idol growing up, dude. Shane Dorian, you kidding me? That guy's the man, right? Not even with his like small wave game and what he did on tour was incredible. His sections in those movies, everything. I just wanted to make sure I showed up and gave him, so they knew I gave him everything I could. And that's like, at the end of the day, the most important thing for me is, I show up being the best version of myself and give each client everything I can to help them succeed.
Did you have any relationship with him before that, or would you just meet him?
No, I mean, I'd met Jackson through a couple Grom Search events, but very, very briefly. And then, no, Shane just contacted me on Instagram one day when I woke up and I was like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
There's probably other coaches, other mentors that have different styles, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
How do you know your style is going to jive with a certain surfer?
I guess you don't know. You don't know.
Bend?
Yeah, you don't know until you dive in. But like, I'm pretty selective with like who I work with because I can only work with so many people at a time because you want to make sure, you have enough, energy and space and capacity, for each person. So like, especially at contests, like I can't say yes to each person who reaches out because then you're gonna have too many people in the event and then you're going to be all battling against each other.
Well, eventually it's going to happen anyhow, right?
Well, that's ideally you meet up on finals day, quarterfinals, and beyond, The last event for the first time ever, I had three guys in a 4-man heat in the round of 64, which sucked. Like it was like guaranteed someone's going to lose, Yeah. So that was tough. But at the end of the day, like that's a question I get all the time is like, how do you coach a heat with multiple surfers in it? It's like you coach each surfer individually, like trying to get the best out of them. So using your words to motivate them to be their best, and helping them surf a heat to their best strategy. Like everyone's going to be a little bit different based on the type of surfer they are and how they approach heats. Cause that takes time. So like, ideally, I actually don't even really like to work with a surfer just for like one event. I want it to be for a while because we can like really learn how each other ebbs and flows. And so I can figure out how to work with them. Like, are they a surfer that needs to get pumped up before the heat, like a full pump up speech? Or are they a surfer that's already like jumping out of their skin? I need to kind of calm them down and really focus and slow down. So it's figuring it out, the right way.
So you're changing gears all the time with different people.
Yeah.
Right on. It sounds like it's a fascinating subject to me. I'm stoked. I get to talk to you.
Yeah. No, it's fun to talk about it.
And then you said you were recently married. How's your wife taking you when you're out of town? Is she going with you, or how's that going?
Yeah. So
I know it's personal. Sorry.
Oh, it's all good. No worries. She's been able to have a remote job since the COVID stuff went down. So
oh, cool.
Depending on where the timeline is in the world, I've tried to bring her along as much as possible.
Oh, rats! So you guys are like traveling the world.
Yeah. So she was just with me on that last trip. She came just for a portion of it, and then she's coming with me to Australia for Snapper and Narrabeen events. So
has she been there before in Australia?
She came last year with me too.
Okay.
But like for example, I did a bunch of events without her. I went to Africa for 3 weeks last year without her. I got to do J-Bay last year, which was like a highlight for sure. El Salvador.
How's that wave?
My favorite, I think.
Is it your favorite?
Dude, for me, growing up in right-hand point breaks, it was just like, I surfed it the morning of the finals and ran into Jordy out there. And I was like, Jordy, let's be honest. What is this out of 10? And he's like, this is a solid 9.
Wow.
J-Bay had a 9. It was like, I paddled out in the pitch dark and it was it's a super hairy, sketchy paddle out, like between the little keyhole they talk about. And it in pitch dark, like you couldn't tell how big the waves were. And it was like just white water. And I think I was like the third guy out there, just knowing like I only had a couple minutes to surf before the contest started, you know?
Wow. And did you get a good wave?
I caught one in the dark all the way through and I was like screaming. And then once the light came up, like, you know, maybe 5 to 10 CT guys and girls came out. And at that point, like I'm just taking scraps, you know, I'm not out there to take waves from them. So any wave they didn't want, you know, I'll take the scraps, and the scraps on a 9-point JB day are still pretty good. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I can imagine.
And then we surfed that evening after the event and it was huge, big. Like it was hard to make it out. And I think Peter Mel was out there with me. The contest finished and he snapped his board in half. And yeah, it was a pretty cool day.
That sounds so like you've had this. The surfing is giving you this life. Are you glad you surfed? I mean, and do you ever burn out on it? Like just stop talking surf for a day?
A little bit. I think I get burnt out on the events after like a few events in a row. If like at the end of it, you know, it's kind of nice to have a little break. I mean, clearly I love surfing. I love it very much so, and all aspects of it. And it's given me so much. And I'm so grateful that like, dude, I got to create a job for myself that like I thoroughly enjoy and wake up every day stoked to do it.
Well, Matt, thank you so much for coming on the QuiverCast. I'm stoked. It was a great conversation. I had fun. This is Mike and Matt Myers, and we are out of here. Thanks, Matt, so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
100 foot out choke food, 100 racks on a surf dude. Slippery, big guns like Mark Fu. Trap jumping like a kangaroo. 100 foot out choke food, 100 racks on a surf dude. Slippery, big guns like Mark Fu. Trap jumping like a kangaroo. You know we don't fuck with no kooks. You boo on my didgeridoo. They calling me dude, I'm stacking the loot. I'm ripping your chick in the coop. She grabbing a hold of my leggy. Play jelly, they Gucci my weddy. The fridge of Giuseppe, the chain is so heavy, she think that I'm charging the Eddie. 100 foot out choke poo, 100 racks on a surf dude. Slippery, big guns like Mark Fu. Trap jumping like a kangaroo. 100 foot out choke poo, 100 racks on a surf dude. Slippery, big guns like Mark Fu. Trap jumping like a kangaroo. Surf trap, I'm stacking that money. Cash. Your shorts a red Ferrari. These thoughts are calling me Dundee. Diamonds are surfing McFlurry. Trap, she want me to teach her to surf. Splash, I'm pulling up, ripping the verse. I'm leaving these kooks in the hearse. They get moved 100 foot on their head, they get work. 100 foot out choke poo, 100 racks on a surf dude. Slippery, big guns like Mark Fu. Trap jumping like a kangaroo. 100 foot out choke poo, 100 racks on a surf dude. Slippery, big guns like Mark Fu. Trap jumping like a kangaroo. You know we don't fuck with no kooks. You know we don't fuck with no kooks. You calling me dude, I'm stacking the loot. I'm ripping your chick in the coop. You know we don't fuck with no kooks. You know we don't fuck with no kooks. They calling me dude, I'm stacking the loot. I'm ripping your chick in the coop.
Hey, you guys, Endless Summer box set. This thing is legit. It's authentic, numbered certificate in it. It has a 5-frame film strip from the original print. You will literally own a piece of history. It has a specially minted bronze medallion. Dude, that thing's sick. Okay, there's so much more here. Go to the show notes. There's a link on there. Go check this piece of history out. This thing's rad. Seriously. Smithsonian American History Museum has it. It took 4 years of research with 3.5 in production, all hand assembled. This thing's rad. So much to this awesome box set. Remastered DVD, sharper images than the original film, but dude, this thing's so sick. Link in the show notes.